Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. Our special guest today is Shana Krisan, the Chief Marketing Officer at Goldfish Swim School Franchising. Shana is a certified franchise executive and has worked in the franchise space for the bulk of her career. Her knack for building impactful and efficient teams is something I really want to address today. She is a strong believer in a holistic approach to marketing and has accomplished an incredible amount during her time with the brand, masterminding the marketing of the Science of Swim Play, Bubbles the mascot, create digital playbooks for franchisees, and building Goldfish Swim School's internal creative agency, which has a core focus of defining and protecting the Goldfish brand. Shana has been recently recognized as a 2019 Bronze Stevie Award winner for Woman of the Year in Marketing and Advertising, as well as Franchise Update Media for Best Digital PR and Hiring Campaigns, and receiving their highest honor in 2020 for Marketing Leadership. Shana also plays an active role on the IFA Marketing and Innovation Committee. Shana, thank you for joining us today. We're so glad you could carve out some time for us.
Thank you, Rebecca and Tracy. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, wow, that was really impressive. Congratulations on all of those accolades, both for you and Goldfish Swim School. So I love hearing about our interviewees' early childhoods, and just kind of the direction of how things were or how things went as you were growing up. I understand that you were raised by a single mom, as was I. And your mom sounds like she was amazingly encouraging. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Sure. My mom is amazingly encouraging still to this day. She's a little powerhouse is what I like to think of her as. Yes, my mom was a single mom for much of my childhood, but very much involved in everything that my sister and my brother and I did. And as a matter of fact, she was one of the first Michigan State police officers in our state. Yeah. And so she kind of grew up in a tough, predominantly male occupation. And so I think that helped to guide her in her career. And she retired about 10 years ago as a lieutenant, and also helped to guide my sister and my brother and I in just pursuing what we want to do and removing any barriers to accomplish whatever we set out to do. She was tough, but we always knew that she very much loved us. And she and my dad always just kind of encouraged us to go for what we wanted and to not be afraid to do something that's a little bit out of the box.
That's awesome.
Well, what your mom did was a little bit out of the box.
Very much.
And an occupation that requires fearlessness on top of it. So I'm sure you learned vicariously from that by observing your mom. So as you grew up, you went to university. Tell us a little bit about your life in university and the path you were choosing there.
Sure. So I'm the oldest in my family. So from a very, very small town in West Michigan called Wayland, right between Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids. So I didn't want to go too far away from home. I was a little bit afraid to go too far away from home. So I ended up going to college at Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo. Go Broncos. And when I went, I really just thought, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I'm not sure that it was the what, it was the typical kind of on paper, what am I going to follow? I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get a really good job and I'm going to make good money. And I'm going to, I think that I felt at least that it was very scripted out. I knew what I needed to do and I just needed to follow that path. So to get there, this was the late 80s, there were a lot of books on breaking the glass ceiling and women can do it all, getting that corner office. that's what I went out to do. And I thought the best way to get there would be to be in business, so to get a business degree. So I started at Western trying to get a business degree. And I had really good grades out of high school. I thought I could do this. I took that first statistics class, that probability class.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely a no. That, and added to that an accounting class.
No.
Which was another big fat no. I got through it, but it wasn't pretty. And then I had to take a computer programming class, and there were lots of zeros and ones and zeros. And I had no idea what I was doing, and I hated it the entire time. So realized that business was not the way to go. I started taking a couple of communication classes, and I was very interested in writing. So I started taking some journalism classes. And then I also, just because I needed extra classes for minors, I ended up in sociology, which was a giant, great love. And I had no idea what I was going to do with any of it and how it was going to come together. And it didn't feel like the right kind of degree I was supposed to be getting. But I loved the classes. And so I just continued to pursue those through my degree.
I think that's so true, what you just said, that it didn't feel like it was the degree you were supposed to get. Like you're supposed to go for law, or you're supposed to be a doctor, you're supposed to be an accountant. But sociology, that's like so esoteric and kind of communications. I get it. So how did you find your way once you graduated? Where did you land?
So I started in West Michigan at Blue Cross Blue Shield, actually. And it was a wonderful degree. Started in the marketing department because my aunt worked for Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And I was out of college in 1992, and it was a tough job market. And so she got me in there, and I did the very basic things. I was putting together kits, and I was helping the sales team just to prepare. But I learned a lot. And from there, I ended up just continuing to pursue different areas in marketing. I just kept falling into advertising and marketing. And then the next thing was a little bit more in some area of marketing. So it's a really expansive area. And I don't think that that's something that people understand. Marketing is not one thing. It's 50 things. So yeah. And I was loving every single part of it. So I continued just to evolve in my career in areas of marketing or agency or advertising, writing.
You know, we were talking offline a little bit about this idea of passion. So you discovered in college the things that were, I don't like that. And things that you were interested in, which was more the sociology, the communication, more the human side of things. And then you go to this job where you're exposed to various ideas around marketing and sales, each of which stimulated more and more curiosity, interest, etc. Right? So this idea of being introduced to this, at what point, if there was a point, did you say, this is my passion? Marketing is absolutely what I am called to do, you know. What was it, really just an evolution, or was there a moment that you just knew this is my rightful place?
It was really an evolution. I went from a small company where they asked me to come in and be their advertising coordinator. I'm thinking, I don't know what they're doing. I don't draw, I don't do design. Sure, I'll give it a go. And then I learned a little bit about that. And then I went to an agency, which anybody that works for an agency is going to get a really comprehensive understanding of all areas. So I ended up in an editorial department, and then I ended up with clients and customers and thinking through their strategies. So it was very much of an evolution and just a bolting on in the marketing and advertising space. It's something I didn't know coming out of high school or college, that could be a career. So I would just take little tiny snippets, I guess, little steps in it until I realized where I really fell into the area of the huge landscape that is marketing. And that's for me more on the strategy and the holistic vision of the marketing. Yeah. And then getting people that are much, much smarter than I am to help implement it across channels.
I think you're touching on such a tremendously important area, because I know firsthand that when I'm working, or when Rebecca and I are working on professional development with a client using the Zorko profile, quite often they'll see their skill sets coming across as strong everywhere, but yet a lot of people are disappointed because they don't understand. They're like, well, why aren't I over the top in any area? I don't have leadership on here. And it's so critical for individuals to understand, like what you just said about how you can understand a certain amount in every area or every skill set. You can understand a little bit about every part of an agency, but then you've got that holistic view. When you're a generalist, you take bits of everything and pull it together. How invaluable is that?
It is. It's really, really valuable, but it took me a long time to understand that. I just thought, how am I going to continue in my career? I'm not the best in any one of these areas. I am a generalist, and who pays for a generalist? I mean, who hires a generalist? So it took me a really long time to understand the value that can be brought to that, especially if you can pair it with an understanding of people, and you can get out of your own way enough to hire people that are smarter than you are, and find people that are smarter than you are in certain areas, and just to be able to put together a team and really just look at it as the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
And being somebody that can see that, and then again, get out of the way and let people in different areas do what they do and remove those barriers for them so that it's for the good of the team and the company.
That's great.
You're known in the franchise space of being good at just that, which is pulling together a team and then empowering them to execute. In today's labor world, which is just so tough, I'd like to explore that a little bit more with you. How do you recognize talent? How do you build that team?
That's such a loaded question and so important to everybody. This is such a tough labor market right now. For me, you start where everybody starts. You know what you need. So there's always going to be, very seldom are you starting from the beginning. I was really fortunate when I started with Goldfish to be able to craft the department. And I had such backing from our owners to say, we know who we are, we know our mission, we know our vision, let's go after it. And they were so welcoming to my idea of kind of putting together an internal creative team, an agency structure internally, certainly using outsourced partners, but integrating as much as we could internally so that we could move faster, we could collaborate easier, and we could integrate it all. So when looking for people, you start where you need to start. And for me, that was social media. I'm not a social media expert by any stretch of the imagination. So you start with the areas that you're not as good at. So I knew there were things I could do, but then I needed somebody to help me there. And then from there, it was creative development. I don't do graphic design. I'm not a branding creative. So hiring that and pulling that piece in and getting that started. To me, it's all about not only you start with the resume so that you start where everybody else starts. A really good, solid job description that isn't just pulled from the internet and buzzwords thrown in there, but really what are these people going to be doing on your team? And then what else are you going to be looking to them for? So starting with the job description, but then we have a long way to go. Marketing is so big. Where else can we go? I want people that are going to be passionate and interested in pursuing different areas that are not on that job description long term. So finding people, sitting down and talking to them, not with tell me about the last 3 things that you did and how did that. I'm not a I'm not a big fan of your typical interview questions, but tell me who you are and exactly what you're asking me. What is your passion? Where are you going? Where do you want to go? Do you know? Do you not know? Because either way, we can work with you. If you don't know, let's figure it out together. If you do know, how's that going to help you? How's that going to help me? How's it going to help our department? And how's that going to help our company? So I think just actively listening, and maybe this did come from my communication degree and my sociology degree.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I think it's finding what people are passionate about and then what you need and putting that together so that it forms a great culture for your department and your company, and then letting people go off and do what they do, and then get the heck out of their way when I do not need to be involved in every single little thing. I do not need to take credit for it. And everybody's going to be better if I remove the barriers for you and you can continue doing what you're doing. We're going to move faster and we're going to be a much more cohesive team if I give you what you need to do what you do best.
Love that. Can you speak to something that you mentioned a little earlier offline, which was finding the intangible, something that's not in the resume? Can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure. I think it comes back to that sociology that we were talking about a little bit, is just sitting back, and you have to be an observer of human nature, and you have to be able to look at people and hear what they're saying, but also what they're meaning. You want to hire people that are humble, hungry, and smart, all of it, not just one part of it. I think it just takes some being patient. We follow the EOS process, and it is hire slow, fire fast. Sometimes it doesn't feel like we can hire slow, right? You have to cull through so many resumes and you need somebody today, but sitting back and really listening to what people have to say and finding something about them that you think is going to help add to your culture and help add to your team and help spur things forward. Definitely people that love to collaborate, that I would not hire somebody that doesn't want to collaborate. And the couple of mistakes I have made, I think, on hiring has been that it's hiring for expertise and not for team collaboration. So the intangibles, everybody has something that's a little bit different, but all of those things together is what makes for an interesting and really effective team. So find those things in people that are a little bit different and figure out how it can help you and help them and help the company.
Beautiful.
I think that you've mentioned a couple of things that to me are very key, that marketing is a collaborative effort. Mm-hmm. And so you are screening for someone who's collaborative. They're not going to be over here doing their own little thing. They understand they're part of a bigger mission and a bigger purpose. And then this idea of uncovering their passion. We know someone is going to be better at something if they love it and they have a passion for it and they want to continue to learn it, to kind of screen for that also. You know, in the past, I had a mentor who, his name was Dr. Douglas Jackson, and he said, one of the best ways to know someone, and you're listening to what's being said that's not being said, kind of reading between the lines, is to ask them about someone else. So tell me about your last boss or your coworker, or about your best friend. And he said, statistically, you can know more about that person by the words and the way they describe their friend, or the way they describe their manager or coworker or something like that. It's usually a reflection of themselves. So if they're complaining about, oh, they didn't give me enough, freedom or creativity, or they always wanted me to be on time, whatever it is that they were complaining about, they were dishonest, it's usually a reflection of themselves. And I thought it was an interesting way to kind of ask questions about what appears to be out here, but really learning more about them. So I want to actually hit again on this idea of team and collaboration, and you being kind of the big picture. And it's almost like Moneyball, right? When I think about it, you know that movie, Shana?
I do.
That's kind of what you're talking about here. It's like Moneyball. You're taking people that are great at first base and third base and pitchers, and you're putting them together to have this wonderful result. How do you nurture this collaboration, encourage this kind of collaboration?
Well, first of all, this is getting very deep, Rebecca, and I'm here for it.
Welcome to my world.
I like it. So I just think it's something that people don't spend enough time on. The way that I nurture it is, and I think this is newer. This is kind of it's been a buzz. I don't even want to say phrase because there's not a specific phrase, but it's been a buzz movement in the last 10 years. Like, the deeper you know your people and the more on a personal level, and the more you know, the better your business outcomes are going to be. I just thought that I always thought that, and nobody else thought that. And I thought I better not tell people that, because getting to know what people love and who they are, and, not just I don't always remember everybody's birthday. I can promise you that. I don't remember their dogs' names, and everybody on my team has a dog. But I want to understand the person and really what makes them tick. And if you can understand that and really what motivates them, then you find other people and what motivates them. And that you just start to form those connections. And the more connections you can form, the closer your team is. And, some people on my team do know everybody's birthdays. I'm just not let's mark it off the list. I'm supposed to know their birthdays, and I'm supposed to know what city they live in, and I'm supposed to know their parents' names. I'm terrible at that. Terrible. I can't remember how many years they've been there. But what I care about is understanding who they are and what makes them love working for Goldfish and love working in marketing, and where they want to go and what they want to do, because forming those connections between our team members allows us to have a really cohesive team, not just in marketing, in our operations, in our curriculum, at our leadership level. All of that matters so much to me. And it feels a little like feely. And I always thought I better not say that, because that doesn't seem like the right thing that everybody's going to want, is this feely CMO. But it does have business implications. And I'm so happy that there has been a movement to uncover that this isn't just feely type, girly CMO type marketing, how they are, things. This has business implications for our profitability and for turnover. And I just deeply believe in all of that.
And employee satisfaction, right?
Yep.
And results and all of those things, which is why it's so wonderful to see women in some of these roles that aren't afraid to get to that heart level, that feeling level, to truly care and connect and bring in that component of the heart that I think is important. It's important. I mean, if you feel like you're part of something and you're valued and you're significant, you're gonna step up. You're gonna feel like you're part of a family or team, and you're gonna step up. At least I would think.
Very authentic way, because I think it can be faked. And I think that when you do that, you're not helping yourself. You're actually hurting yourself and your team. So I am kind of known on my team to have really high expectations. And I've had people say, I didn't want to let you down. I feel bad about it sometimes, but at the same time, I don't want you to let us down either. So, and that you're that kind of person that doesn't want to let your team down, because we're going for something here. We're good and we're getting better, and you want to be a part of it because you're a part of this team. And so those things are, when you can do it authentically, it shows. And when you don't, I think it also shows.
Beautiful. So I love that you're all about talent development and nurturing creativity. So if we could just spin this back to you for a minute, when was your earliest recollection of, wow, I am a creative person?
I think when you work on a marketing team and you hear creative, you automatically go to your graphic designers or your director of creative, right? So I would say that I haven't always thought of myself as a creative because they are creative. They can draw, they can design, they can put it all together. They get the compositions. So I've always thought of that as the creative. I think it took me until really later in my career, maybe at the agency, when I realized that there was a problem and I could see the problem or see the challenge and come up with a number of different solutions, and then kind of choose the right solution and then start to work with other people to put that solution into play. When I realized that problem solving and finding your way through challenges can also be creative, that it's creative thinking, that it's not just the concrete creative. So it was probably, I started an editorial department at an agency because I thought, well, this makes a lot more sense than outsourcing all of this writing to the outside. We can do it better and more efficiently. So I think it was those types of things and those types of initiatives that allowed me to think like, wow, I am creative. I'm just not traditionally creative.
Yeah. It is funny how we put creativity in a box like that it's sculpting, painting, music, whatever it is, but creative problem solving. Interesting. Yeah. Where you're able to see the big picture and where things are going and what the challenges are. And you find interesting ways to get through that. It's interesting because as you talk about that, there's a part of you that lights up. It's almost like you enjoy a good challenge. You enjoy kind of pushing the envelope. Am I reading you correctly?
Sickly, yes, I absolutely do love a good challenge. Not just the easy ones, but the complicated ones too. I think that some people, I kind of can come alive when there is a big challenge. And I feel like that's where I step up as a leader, is when there is something that is harder to solve. I enjoy that process of figuring out what the possible resolutions are and where the possible solutions can come in, and then choosing one based on, experience and based on everything, kind of that holistic, let's take everything, throw it in and pull it apart and figure out the best solution. I don't know. It's sometimes to my detriment that I like a good challenge, because I might create some of my own in my own life. I don't know, but yes, I do I like a good challenge.
I'm a firm believer that creativity and challenge feeds the brain, and both in equal amounts, which is what you get to do, is even better, right? So I applaud you that you know where your strengths are.
I have the best job in the whole world. Being a CMO of a franchise is such an incredible role to play. So it allows for all of that.
Yeah. You're also a big community builder, right? You don't just build teams, you build communities. Tell us a little bit about the gorgeous ladies of franchising.
That's such a funny one. So I do go to a number of IFA conferences and other conferences and do speak. And I end up very fortunately to speak on a number of panels with other just really smart women in franchising. And I don't say women because there aren't men. There certainly are. I just have always, almost 9 times out of 10, I end up on a panel of mostly women, or I guess maybe in the membership consumer-based model, there's just a lot of women. So I kept running across the same women over and over and over, or we'd end up on the same panels. And just sometimes I think you think that you're the only one that's ever gone through X. And then you start talking and you realize, I don't have to reinvent the wheel on this. These people have also been through it. So we just kept finding that. And so just pulled together a group of membership-based consumer marketers that happened to be all women. And we called him, just tongue in cheek, the GLOF group, which is Gorgeous Ladies of Franchising, which is just a play on Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Somebody came up with that. And now we have a couple of men, but they're happy to be GLOFers as well. So we get together every other month, and we put together a quick agenda, and we just say, what do you want to know? Do you want to talk about vendor partners? Do you want to talk about current situations? Do you want to talk about the hiring? Whatever the marketing problem du jour is, we get together and we talk about it, and we help each other out, and we share. Franchising is a very friendly and sharing environment. And
Shannon, I am so glad you could join us today. And I hate that we got to wrap this up, but I want to make sure that we learn a little bit about the future for you and the future for Goldfish. If you could share a bit about the mission of Goldfish, and where Goldfish is going, where you're going with it, and then at the end, of course, most importantly, how do we get hold of you?
Is a learn to swim, premier learn to swim facility for kids between the ages of 4 months and 12 years. And our whole mission is to help to stem the tide of accidental drowning, which happens to be the #1 cause of accidental death for kids under the age of 4. So an amazing mission. We have 136 locations open in 32 states with 2 in Canada, and about that same number signed. So I'm going to call it just short of world domination, but it is an amazing concept with amazing owners and incredible franchisees that are in their communities doing what they can to help to prevent those accidents. Where we're going, we're going to continue to, in the United States and into Canada, open more schools, provide swim lessons to those different that can't really afford. So that's a very big mission. Where we're going as a company, marketing, where we're going is just staying ahead of the trends. There's so much out there right now. Video is so big. On over-the-top television is so big. And then more than that, it's the customer journey. I think understanding where all of these new channels and all of these new opportunities are coming in, got to get a handle on it. And we have to look at it from the lens of the consumer, not through my lens as a marketer, not through our operation lens, but through the lens of the consumer, so that we can tie marketing, technology, operations, and our entire company together to be able to provide the information that our consumer is looking for where they want to consume it.
The consumer journey. Oh my gosh, that's a whole topic by itself.
Good one.
It is a big one, and it's different today than it was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm wondering if, Tracy, we might have Shana back with a couple of other marketeers that are dealing with this consumer level marketing, and have you do a panel discussion with us. So
we'll call some GLOFers.
We'll call you the GLOFers. Yes, we'll call. We'd love to have you. Best way to get hold of you, girl?
Shana, S-H-A-N-A, at goldfishfranchise.com is my email.
Perfect. Tracy, any final thoughts about this incredible woman?
I just love the whole interview. I think you're doing just such a phenomenal job really being a mentor and a coach and pulling these teams together. You know, just more people like yourself are needed that can identify talent that isn't written on paper and that doesn't need to be proven with a brushstroke, right? So congratulations to you. And thank you so much. We'd love to have you back at some point in the future.
Well, thank you both very much. This has been a lot of fun, very different than some of the other webinars and podcasts we've done. Yeah.
Thank you, Shana. I just wanted to end with one other thought that wasn't articulated, but is built in. You were talking about collaborating and building this team, and seeing the uniqueness in each person, etc. The word that was not used is trust. You trust your team. And it's so interesting to me when we trust people, we give them a direction, we trust them. It's empowering just to provide that feeling. and you seem just to do it naturally, or maybe it's consciously, I don't know, but I want to acknowledge that in
you know what, Rebecca? I think it goes one step back, not just that she trusts her team, it's that, Shana, you trust yourself to choose the right people for the right reason. Mm-hmm. In other words, it's not to make you look good. It's not to find the person with the top talent, but they don't have an ounce of teamwork in their pinky. In other words, that's Shana trusting herself to know when she's found the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, but it's an important factor for building a team. Okay, we yada enough. Ladies, thank you. And thank you to those of you listening in today to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profit is made, and relationships are forged. We'll see you next week for another episode.